Today we're going to be talking about
inclusive learning, the classroom, behaviour management, all those kind of things. And we're going to look at a couple of videos that I found and analyse how they've behaved, how they manage their class, and then look at whether we could improve that, whether we could change that and how we do it differently.
But I am sure disgusted with the fact that you just have no respect for anybody, including yourself. And wearing this doesn't make you wonderful. Well, let's not go there, but you know what? It says be obedient, doesn't it? And you are not being obedient.
Wait, you say trust is...
You are not being obedient. That's all I'm saying.
That's a little crossing.
You are not being obedient by not listening to the teacher. I don't care who it is up here.
Hey, ma'am, that's kind of disrespectful to touch his cross like that. No, you can't.
Yeah, tell me that I'm not being a good Christian.
I didn't say that. I said
you
implied
it, and that's not okay. It's never okay to tell someone that they're being a good Christian.
I didn't say that.
Only God can say you're not being obedient.
What we can see in this video is that this teacher has gone from telling a student off, which maybe in a bit of a harsh term, but not necessarily anything too bad, to suddenly picking on this kid's religion and making that a focal point and challenging on his behaviour and almost implying in some part that he almost doesn't follow his religion because of what the way he has responded to it. And that is not creating an inclusive learning environment. An inclusive learning environment is crucial to good teaching. It creates a welcoming environment where all the students can just come in with, and their main focus is their learning and how they benefit with that, and not the other factors which shouldn't come into play. So it's crucial to create an inclusive learning environment where it welcomes all students and allows them to flourish based on their ability, not like this teacher's done, where she's basically picking on this child and the student because of his religion, and that is not creating an inclusive environment.
But guess what? We're not learning anything. So what am I distracted? What am I distracted though? Exactly. Because I'm tired. I'm fed up, and I done had my last stroke with you, Miss Huddleston. I come to school to learn, not to be treated like I'm a little kid. I take care of my damn self. So guess what? I want to learn something from you. Y'all went on strike for a whole week to get paid to teach us, and now you here and you want to teach? Me, you better teach something. Me, you better teach something. Me, you better teach something.
Wow, she's pretty mad, hey? And that doesn't come out of nowhere. The background to that clip, I don't know, but to get to that level where a student feels comfortable talking to a teacher, a lot of opportunities to address behaviour must have been missed. First off, that teacher isn't even challenging that behaviour. And sometimes you can have a good relationship with your students and you can have, somewhat of a banter, somewhat of a kind of go back and forth, but you have to know when the line between banter and respect is there, and to challenge that behaviour and challenge it quickly so the student knows what the expectations are. In this situation, it might be too far gone, but what would be a good approach to do would be after that lesson, go and talk to that student and discuss some of their concerns, but also set out real clear ground rules as to why you won't tolerate that kind of behaviour again in your classroom in the future. And hopefully with that, this kind of stuff wouldn't happen again. Now we're going to look at another clip to see how this one plays out and to see if there's any behaviour that we would do differently or any advice that we could use to change how the situation pans out.
Get out of my room. No, you know what? You're not going anywhere. See you tomorrow. Sit down, little man. Joseph. Oh, it's Joe. Oh, it's Joe. I wish I never seen that. Babies I've ever known in my life who goes home to mama crying and complaining, and then she's up here in the principal's face saying, oh my gosh, this teacher called my son the wrong name. She should have called him Joe. She
there's so much in that video clip and so many unhelpful behavioural techniques. You probably spotted a few, but off the bat, she goes after the kid personally and insults him and attacks him. And that is not our role as professionals. And I've been there, when you're in a situation with a student who is very difficult, or maybe even, attacking you personally, you might want to get back at them, but that is not our role. And our role is to set clear boundaries for that student. And that should help that student feel comfortable in that space. It's important to set boundaries. They understand that right at the start of the lesson or course, or when you first start teaching that group, because actually if you leave it longer, it often makes it very difficult to set those boundaries in later on. But this is a classroom that's clearly just been allowed to thrive without boundaries. And this particular student obviously feels like he can get away with a lot that he shouldn't be. And it's got to the point where she's now just insulting the student. And insulting a student is just a no-no. We don't know. Like Piaget states that there's different levels of cognitive development, and as adults and as teachers, we're further along that process than the students we're working with. And so sometimes they'll say things they don't quite mean, and they're saying it to get a reaction, but they don't quite understand exactly how hurtful what they're saying is going to be. And we as adults have to learn to not take these things personally, but to try and learn how to work out why the child is saying this or the learner is saying this, and work through this process. But definitely in this situation, clear boundaries and some kind of guidance to the student, maybe one time might have helped a lot. We're going to look at conditioning, classical conditioning and operant conditioning now. A common theory in behaviour management is Pavlov's theory of classical conditioning and Skinner's theory of operant conditioning. Classical conditioning is associating a stimuli that is kind of unconscious with something that we associate them together. For example, if your class, if you had a very loud and aggressive speaking tone, students could associate your class with fear, worry, stress.
What did you say? Yell at me? You yell at me! Get out of the class! Out loud, right now!
And likewise, if a kid was bad at exams or a learner was bad at a certain type of exam, maybe a maths exam, they could associate that exam with fear and stress rather than thinking, I'm going to go in and do a good job here today. On the other hand, operant conditioning is associating something with a reward. So, for example, you've done a good piece of work and then you get maybe star of the day or prize of the day or crown or some sort like that. So it's creating a positive result, or it could be a negative result. So it could be you have a leaderboard. I remember when I was in A-level maths, we had a leaderboard and the top kid went at the top and the bottom kid went at the bottom. And I sometimes found myself at the bottom, sometimes found myself near the top. And that was encouraging or demoralizing, but it often the idea was to push you to do better. So those are different ways you can do that in the classroom.
Shut the hell up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut the hell up! Shut up! Shut up!
The learning environment is now filled with professionals and specialists, and I know when I personally work in schools, there's lots of people I can liaise with to improve my practice with students. If you've got a challenging student or a student you find difficult, he may be working with the SEN department, Special Education Needs Department, and they might be able to give you some insight into why he functions a certain way. This can often be really eye-opening in terms of your practice with that particular student. There are other departments, including the pastoral department or the behavioural department, the counselling team even, where a certain student might just not see themselves for a while and not being as engaged in the subject as they were previously. And sometimes talking to that department, you might find out something that's been going on in their life or something that's been happening, and you go, wow, okay, so suddenly I've now have a bit of psyche and understanding of kind of why that student is changed towards my lesson or even towards me as a teacher. And it can sometimes a little word of encouragement or a little bit of a nod to let them know, you know, kind of, I'm here for you, I understand where you're at, can really change how a student can relate to the teachers. I know many of the students I have found the most difficult, actually, one of the things they say is they really value those teachers who just show a little bit more care for their situation and try and take time out of being a teacher just to say, how are you doing, are you okay? And it sounds simple, but it makes a massive difference.
What's so funny?
Why are you yelling?
Because I like to yell.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, what?
What's wrong with asking to see our test?
Like that? Does that work for you? Does that work for you? Does that work for you? Answer my question.
Yeah.
Good. I'm going to give you a 10% bump on your SOL test that's going to basically add on to your score for your final exam. What do you want?
In conclusion, what we've looked at today is we've looked at different ways of managing behaviour. We've looked at classical and operant conditioning and looking at how to apply these in a classroom setting. We've looked at a lot of examples where that hasn't been done well. And we don't want to do that when we're teaching our students, but we want to be the best teachers we can be, and to do that, behaviour management, creating an inclusive learning environment and really studying the different ways we can do this is essential to making that classroom environment as good as it can be.